Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Unity Manifest. I am your host, Gary Cocciolillo, and today our guest is Jason Waltenhauser. Did I get it right? Hi,
Wolthuizen.
Walthausen. And I've had him on a couple times on everything imaginable, but today we are going to talk about some different topics. He has some videos out now on the tablet of Shamash, and it's going to be a really interesting interview, as always. How are you?
Thanks for having me again. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah. So, what made you change directions from Ohm's law to the tablet?
It's the same. It's actually the same thing. The Tablet of Shamash is actually a book that I wrote in 2017. So I had this minor surgery and I was basically in bed for a week. And I watched this crazy documentary called The Roman Empire Rules Today. It was this bizarre, like 5 hour YouTube video that
Mhm.
was all shot with like a 1982 VHS video camera. And about 2 or 3 hours into it, it all of a sudden showed this image of the tablet of Shamash. And then it gave this crazy explanation of what it means. And for some reason, the instant I saw that image, it was like a flash going off. And I said, that's not what that's saying at all. I know exactly what that's saying. So then I spent several years actually just studying that single image.
Mhm.
And I do all of my writing I do through transcendental meditation. So I have this specific music and I usually walk and I just get myself into this flow state where I just explore these different ideas. And then I write down all of the explorations I have while in this flow state, which we've talked about in the other
Yeah.
interviews. And I literally just spent a couple of years on and off looking at that single image and finding all of these deeper and deeper layers of meaning that are my interpretation of what I believe it's trying to say. Because we know what the writing on the tablet of Shamash says as far as the context of the history. Um, but the interpretation of it is something that is for all of us to explore. So I'm at like a 550-page book of the explanation of that one single image because it's actually the tablet of Shamash and the law. It's
Mhm.
explaining that there is a law that is at the center of everything. And this single image is trying to explain its multiple layers of influence that this one law has, which I call the first principle. And it coincidentally, I believe, it is actually an expanded understanding of energy law, which is actually Ohm's law. And you've seen the videos, correct?
Yes. Well, I watched a couple of them. I haven't watched them all yet.
Yeah. And the reason that I wanted to do this conversation now is because I'm 2 chapters away from releasing the first like feature length. It's going to be a 2 part feature length documentary. The
Mhm.
first one's like an hour and 40 minutes, and the second one will be an hour and 40 minutes. Because I released an earlier version of it several years ago, and it was getting pretty good traction, but there were big technical issues with it that now AI can actually help me solve.
Right.
So I've decided to just invest probably about 4 months, hopefully, into just finishing the whole project so I can get the entire thing done with the help of AI. Thank God that it arrived when it did. Um, and it does link into my Ohm's law theory of
Mhm.
everything in a beautiful way for the people that want to take the time to watch it. It's a fascinating image.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been experimenting with AI too, and I'm going to be putting out some pretty cool content in the next month or so. It really like people like I understand people's concern about taking over or taking away jobs and things like that. But I think maybe we can also use it as a tool for enlightenment.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think that for every job that gets lost to it, there's a valley that we have to get to the other side of because every new technology has led to more opportunity. The problem with AI is we've never had a technology that has simultaneously affected so many industries instantaneously. So we don't know how deep the valley is and how long the valley is to get to the other side. And unless you're someone like us who have all of these pre-existing projects that AI can help us finish, that's a great opportunity. But for people that have no creative output or interest, it's going to be a pretty scary time. There's a lot of boat rocking that's about to happen, and you either find a way to use it as the tool that it is, or you're going to get crushed by it.
Well, Ohm's law does say that there is bumps in change.
It is, right? It's the new resistance, but there's also a potential to it. It's simultaneously, right? It's this
Hmm.
massive potential that we all have access to. If we choose to focus our energy on it, it's going to help us overcome. For myself, there's only two things that have held me back. I can't draw pictures and I can't compose music. And AI has just solved both of those problems for me. I've got 16 books that I can present now because my artist problem just got solved and my music problem just got solved, and that's exciting. The other side of it though is that there's this also tsunami of content where it is like a drop of water in the ocean, but that's where niches come into it. Like, what are you talking about? Does your information actually have value? Is it actually benefiting people's lives? Because it's the information that benefits people's lives that gets shared. But you're also competing with all the noise now. These automatic video generation programs
Hmm.
are all the same thing. 100 million people have just said, what's the number one video? It's the top 10 list video. And then you go to a program that automatically makes you a top 10 list video. And now there's 800,000 of them a day. You will get lost in that. Whereas we have our unique niches.
Yeah, yeah, and we have a unique niche that AI can't really deal with yet, which is consciousness.
And philosophy.
Yeah,
The one thing it can't do is philosophy. Like it can't make connections to things that aren't already documented somewhere because it's just a predictive algorithm of what word comes next. And it
yeah,
does
because
it
we're the
extraordinarily
ones
well.
feeding it. So,
Well, that's
uh-oh, you lost your sound. Or is it me?
let me see here. Hello, hello.
Yep, now I hear you.
I can still hear me. Internet connection is unstable.
Now I hear you.
Okay, sorry. We
Yeah,
just lost the
uh, it's okay.
someone turned something on somewhere in the building. Um, yeah, I think that it can't do philosophy. It can't make connections that aren't there. But as we feed it, is it going to learn from the connections we're telling it to look for? That's what I don't know yet. Is that every time I put my script into the AI to generate the narrator, is it actually learning what the script means?
But
I
isn't
don't
that
know.
kind is if it is learning, isn't that kind of cool? Because then it's doing what nature is intended to do, which is to take in data and create something new from
Well, yeah, and that's where I think that it's a hell of an ethical problem, right? So right now on the program I use, it looks for keywords in the script, and then it goes through all the stock footage sites and finds clips based on the keywords, and it just automatically generates a video track based on my script, and it is extraordinarily accurate.
it.
But what's coming next is, can't find the clip you like, describe the clip you'd like to see, and you're literally going to be able to say, I need to see a picture of the Rocky Mountains at night with a UFO landing and an alien coming out of the ship and walking up to a man sitting at a fire
Yeah,
campfire. And it's just going to make that video clip. And I need it to be 20 seconds long. It can already do that.
yeah, it does.
That is phenomenally exciting to creative people. So, hell of a time to be an artist.
Yeah, it's a yeah, and that's how we can convey more. abstract information in ways that people can understand.
For sure.
Because I think sometimes, and even for myself, talking about these topics becomes very abstract and fluid and hard to connect it all together. And through visual tools, audio tools, and even like the idea, like my idea, I think I was talking about to you earlier, was making files with binaural audio with these huge AI information dumps for people to listen to before they go to sleep. All these things can really help convey things that were really difficult to convey before.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that if there is any major shift in consciousness that's going to happen, AI is going to be an instrumental part of it. Because when we hit general intelligence, which I think OpenAI claims we're going to hit general intelligence sometime in 2027, which basically means your chat GPT
Mm-hmm.
like literally just does everything, which it kind of already almost does. But it'll literally be all of the AIs in one. You want it to code, you want it to make pictures, you want it to make videos. It doesn't matter what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to have. I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine. He's an artist, and most of his friends have actually lost their jobs already, which is crazy. But I said, you have 100 IQ, let's say, at drawing. It has 100 IQ across all fields of study, all fields of study. We cannot comprehend. If you were sitting at a table with that person, we cannot comprehend how smart that person would be already.
Right.
And general intelligence is going to be the seamless integration of all of that. Like I have to take my script and I put it in one program to generate the voice, and then I put it in another program to generate a music or whatever. It's just going to do all of that fast. Like it's going to do this fast.
Yeah, it's definitely
Fast.
going to make things for us easier, I think.
The question is, does it have any value when you have the tsunami of content that comes? Because that's energy law too, right? If there's that much of a groundswell, if you need 1 million views to get $20 on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to need 10 million views to get $5 when the amount of content goes exponential because AI can just automatically pump it out. And the problem we have right now is
Mhm.
you've got an AI generated video on an AI generated channel that has AI generated subscribers. And they've already charged people with this, where a guy created a channel that
Mhm.
that made $10 million in ad revenue because YouTube just cuts the check based on the algorithm. And it was, 10 million subscribers, none of which were real, all these views, none of which were real. And at a certain point, the advertisers, you know, Cocoa Pebbles or whatever, Fruity Pebbles wants to sell cereal. And if they're spending, there's not an infinite amount of ad money.
Mhm.
And for the ad money they spend, they want a return. So if they don't start seeing that return, it's going to start triggering flags. And they've already charged someone for basically making $10 million worth of ad revenue on something that was completely fake in every way.
That's crazy.
That happened like 2 weeks ago.
Hmm. Like I do, like the content saturation. That also happened with podcasting too. Like during COVID, it just went, whoosh,
Yeah.
and it's longevity.
Well, that's exactly it. It's all about how it's an endurance run, not a sprint,
Yeah.
right? Most successful people making a living from social media say it takes a decade. It takes a decade of just putting stuff out there because you have to find your genuine audience. I have a friend who started a YouTube channel and he paid $100 to someone in India to get his 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of views. And someone in India made that happen for him in 3 weeks for $100 American. But I said to him, the problem is this: it's not real. It's not real. Like at a certain point, for us as consciousness creators and conscientious creators, we want to meet real people. I want to know, Gary, because
Right.
Gary's a real person that might benefit from what I'm saying. I don't need a million views. I want the 500 views that I do have to actually help people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't even promote, so it just
Yeah, I'm pretty much, yeah,
people know what's genuine and what's not genuine. I think most, you know.
yeah. But most people don't care. They just, they're just trying to get the money. And I think there's going to be a bloodletting of all of the people that are in it for the money are going to find out very fast that you need like a billion views to make $20 because there's going to be so much content created. And then you're going to see people just dropping off and saying, this isn't, even though the AI is doing everything, it's still not worth my time. We will see that at some point. And then
Yeah,
you're going to see some really good stuff.
exactly, exactly. Just like with the whole podcasting thing, like like now that the tsunami is over,
Yeah,
you know, and plus it took me a long time too just to find my own niche, really.
for sure, for sure. And mine's the energy law thing, and there's no one else doing it. If they are, they're not doing it based on actual law. It's all just frou. So in that way, I'm very confident that a decade from now, I'm on the long road. I have my message and I keep sharing it with people that want to hear it, and it's slowly growing. And I'm assuming that the majority of people that are finding it are real. So it is what it is at this point,
Yeah, and I think mine is like consciousness expansion and what we can do with that, what we can learn from it.
for sure.
Because I do believe that we can definitely expand our consciousness and see reality from some pretty interesting perspectives that are useful to humanity.
For sure. And the danger of AI on an energy law level too is just when you have that level of resistance lowering, you're not learning any skills. So that's where it's dangerous on a consciousness level
Mm-hmm.
because the struggle of actually learning how to do these things is the growth. If current is constant and resistance increases, potential difference must increase. So if something takes all that resistance away, it's the exact opposite. You can constantly focus all of your energy, but if there's no struggle, then your potential goes down as a result. That's energy law 101. The easier AI makes it for you to do things, the less potential there will be in it, virtue of the ease of use it can be done. It is the struggle and your ability to pressurize yourself through that struggle that gives you your value because no one else can do it. And it doesn't matter if you're a plumber or an electrician or a waitress, everyone is doing this all of the time. You either get pressurized through the struggle and you overcome it and get better at it, or you fold to it, at which point potential doesn't get established. And then everyone wonders why they don't have what everyone else has.
So it's better for us to overcome the resistance. Otherwise, eventually we'll evolve into amoebas with cell phones.
It's Wally. It's all of the people on the boat on the ship in Wally. Orange, red is the new blue, and everything just changes, and they're all just these blobs that don't even have any bone mass left. That's
Yeah.
exactly why that's in that movie. Is they're fleeing the planet because they've destroyed it, but really they've gone into a low resistance environment and they've tried to make a whole culture around it, and now they're all useless as a result, so they can't go back to Earth even if it is fixed. That's the genius of that reveal in Wally, is that without the resistance, there's big problems. It's just it's human nature.
So how do you teach people, or not even teach people, but maybe influence people that to not give up while they're going through the phase of resistance? Like I think, like you were saying, like people get, we all do, we all experience it. We all hit these phases in life where it's just like life becomes such a struggle where you just kind of want to give up, want to run away, avoid it, whatever. And people, some people fold and some people don't. Um,
I'm there myself. I I I've discovered this expanded version of understanding, and I struggle with it every day. Every day, you just go, "Why am I even bothering?" It's because it is. It's not the feel good, optimistic thing everyone wants to hear. Is that sometimes you just got to suck it up, and it's not. There's nothing great about that. It sucks, man. But I do guarantee that on the other side of it, there will be growth. Once your potential reaches the level that is equal to the resistance, then you switch gears into the potential phase of the law, at which point the resistance goes down and the current goes up. It's a beautiful, simple system, but you have to overcome it so that you grow to the point where you're greater than it, and then you have more energy to do things. Most of the people that think they don't have any energy to do things, it's just because they haven't done anything and they're in this negative downward spiral of, if current is constant and if resistance is constant, sorry, and current decreases, potential decreases. So I have this problem that I should be dealing with every day, and I don't do anything, and then my potential goes down, and then I don't do anything, and then my potential goes down, and then they're in this downward spiral because they just aren't taking any action. As Jordan Peterson says, if you don't know what to do, organize your sock drawer. Just do anything. Everyone can find something. Everyone who says, "Oh, there's nothing that I can do," little guy can't get ahead, as my writing partner Chris says, everybody can find something that they can do. There's no one on this planet. So you're telling me there's nothing you can do? There's not a single thing that you could do to make your life just a little bit better? Well, I guess there is something I could do. Well, that's where you start. And people just don't want to hear it because it's a negative time right now. There's a lot of negativity. I've really had to step back from social media and all of that stuff because the negative feedback of that is very dangerous right now, especially with the extreme polarization.
when you talk about like the people who say that there's nothing to do, like that's where I think I sort of come in. It's like that. I think if people can expand their awareness, when you expand your awareness, more choices become available. Or at the very least, you become aware of the fact that you don't know all the choices that are available to you,
Yeah.
and but and just let things sort of happen.
Well,
Not at the very least, don't close the door on
and that's what I see, that potential difference is the same as awareness.
them.
If resistance is constant and current increases, you start doing things, potential difference must increase. That's the law. So one of the things that if you just start doing anything, take any action, by virtue of doing that, potential difference must increase. Well, that potential difference is also awareness. You will become more aware of things to do by virtue of doing things, but than by virtue of doing nothing.
Mhm.
Because if resistance is constant and current decreases, potential difference decreases. I take no action. Well, I don't discover anything new to do. And if I do take action, I discover more things to do. And then as you realize that this is actually a law, that expanding potential difference is your expanded awareness as well. You start learning that, hey, there are benefits to the harder road. If current is constant and resistance increases, potential difference must increase. That potential difference is the understanding that, wow, that struggle was required for me to learn this lesson. And that is expanding potential difference is another way of saying awareness in my philosophy.
How does
And
that apply? How's that uh, apply to the tablet? Like, how does the tablet explain that?
let me show you something different first. I
Okay.
want to show you something different first because we're talking about also, and thanks for getting back on point, by the way, because I can blabber on forever. I want to show you this because it's ancient knowledge and sacred geometry. Is
Yeah.
that what we talked about, right?
Yes.
So I want to show you this little golden ratio prop that I was showing you earlier. So we all know this symbol,
Yeah.
right, as the Fibonacci numbers or the golden ratio. But what I've discovered is that, and this is because of the tablet of Shamash, and there's a chapter on it. What you need to do is you need to add another dimension to the golden ratio to show the volume. So what you're seeing is you've got right here,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the actual, what it's actually showing is that the continuous line that you see, the wave,
Yes.
is actually current. If you want the wave to continue growing indefinitely, then what it's teaching you is the volume of effort that
Uh-huh.
will be required. Oops. Wow, I can't see in the TV screen to save my life.
There it is.
So there, right? So
Yeah.
what it by adding a third dimension to the golden ratio, what you're actually seeing is energy law. Because if you assume that the wave, that the yellow line is a wave, then what you actually see is this.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a triangle pointing up and a triangle pointing down, and then there's a wave. Okay. And then if you want it to keep growing, right? So that triangle pointing down is resistance. The triangle pointing up is potential, and the wave is current. And what Ohm's law says is that there's a directly proportional relationship between uh, potential difference and resistance. If you want current to be constant or to continue growing, this is actually showing you how much more resistance and potential difference would be required to actually make that happen.
Wow. So for the listeners who are not using video, how can
Yeah.
we describe this? Because you're
Watch
holding the blocks and you have a
watch
big block
watch
and you have a smaller block.
That's right. And you really just have to watch the video. I hate to say that to people, but you kind of have to just watch the video. Um, so what's interesting about this is that what it is showing is that if you want the wave to remain continuous, and the reason that this is a dangerous thing, and what the tablet of Shamash is showing, and you really do have to kind of just watch that video too. Hate to be that shameless self promoter, but you do really have to watch the video that it shows how this applies to the thing. Is that we live in a world where recession is terrible. The whole concept of recession is like the ultimate economic sin. But what they're really saying is that things have to grow forever. And what the golden ratio is actually showing you is the volume of resistance,
Yeah.
the volume of potential for the wave to continue growing. So if this is the economy right now, and all of this effort is going into maintaining this wave from last decade to this decade, then the next decade worth of effort,
It's going to be massive.
right? You
Yes.
see where I'm going with this, right?
Yes, I see.
Okay. So yeah, that's how much more resistance and potential would be required
Yeah.
to keep going. And that's not even the biggest cube. I've got one more cube beyond that I've made. My nephew, by the way, made these for me. I gave him a little work project. But anyway, it's an interesting visualization
Yeah.
tool to see where if that was last decade and this is this decade, and we've managed to go without a recession basically since we were in high school. We are both in our mid 50s, and we have avoided a major recession like the kind that we used to see in our entire adult life. We have not seen anything like what is going to be expected if we are going to go from that to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Do we honestly think that that is? that that is doable? Are we going to go from this to this without there being a downturn at some point in the future, especially right at the moment where artificial intelligence is about to take away 50% of the jobs?
Can we find, though, a useful way to redirect the resistance so we don't have to absorb it as negativity?
Basically, in this cube, which would be the next decade,
Mm-hmm.
the resistance is the number of people that must be in that phase for the energy to be generated, right?
All right.
Energy, right? So there's these people that are on top. These are the billionaires. These are like the upper middle class, which are basically government employees at this point, people that work for the government. And then these are the middle class. Everyone in between this and this is the middle class. Between the two dotted lines is the middle class. This is extreme poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically the working poor. So if the wave is going to continue, this is just showing you mathematically how many working poor there must be to feed this wave. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just this is how many homeless encampments we can have. This is how many working poor there must be. This is how many middle class there must be. And this is how many upper middle class there must be. And then this is the billionaires. It's just we've reached a complete imbalance with this, where the wave is just not going to go unbroken one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not good or bad. That's just the physics of all of society, and the economy is created by working people. The economy, they've lost track of what we talked about last time, the dignity of labor. By completely removing the value of labor from the equation by just printing as much money as is required to meet whatever target is arbitrarily there based on the debt and all this other stuff, we've just reached this point where it physically can't be generated. And it doesn't change the fact that individuals do generate everything.
Economy,
So,
though, I think is an easy thing to fix.
tell me how do you think?
You get rid of it. You just squash it. You say, we're done. We're not going to use this system anymore. And good luck.
Well, yeah, good luck is. I hope you have a shotgun because the looters will be emptying your
I don't
cupboard.
know. I don't think that would happen. I think actually it would offer more opportunity for people to grow and to pursue more creative ideas, because you get rid of the economy, you also get rid of need.
You do, but you also get rid of the food supply.
Not necessarily. People are going to eat. We're animals. We ain't as caveman. If we figured out how to eat and survive as cavemen, I think we can figure out new ways to eat and survive.
And I agree, and it might be your neighbor. I think that we are so dependent on the system right now that any disruption to the system at all is going to lead to a major culling of the herd, which might not necessarily, which might be required at this point. I don't want to see it, and I don't want to participate in it because we have lived pretty lavish lives, even the poorest of us in
But
North America.
I also have a plan B.
Okay.
The plan B is off planet settlements that do not use an economy.
I
Have,
think if
have, have volunteers go live off of it on a planet where we do not use this system. Let that planet and let that colony grow as this one destroys itself.
I think that if we get there, it'll be inevitable. It will be replaced by. Did you see Alien Romulus yet?
No.
So yeah, they're basically it's between Alien and Aliens is when the movie takes place, and you've got all these people in an off-world colony, and basically there is no economy. There's just the credits from the corporation. And then you need so many credits to be able to like go on a vacation. So she's at the point where it's like, okay, well, I'd like to go back home now. And they go, yeah, we just changed the whole system again. And you don't need 12,000 credits. You need 24,000 credits and get back to mine.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm talking like a colony though with like
Yeah.
zero economy, nothing. Not run by a corporation, no corporations, no religions, no governments.
But the role of economy is an energy transfer agreement. We agree to take our labor and
Mhm.
put it into this thing we call money so that we can get the things that we um, can't generate ourselves. It's a utility.
Yeah,
We
but
still need
but maybe
something
we
to
should be
collapse.
doing that though, not as individuals, but as a collective race of humans.
Sure.
Because eventually we do have to leave this planet, and eventually we're going to have to come up with some kind of value to justify our existence to other species.
Sure. Sure. I don't think we get off the planet. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think we die here.
I think that it's what is it the Fermi paradox is that given the length of the universe, there should be life everywhere
Yeah.
unless there's a barrier that is preventing that from happening. And we haven't figured out what that barrier might be. I believe personally it might be micronovas. I think that there's a micronova cycle to the sun that will periodically wipe out everything electronic. And apparently it's like the
Oh
lunar
yeah. This is
cycle.
this is the escape from LA plot, sort of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because they know that there's like what is it, the cosmic calendar, the celestial word. We go from Pisces to Sagittarius and all that stuff. There's like a 12,500 year cycle that is this mass ejection from the sun that basically, I think the last time it happened on a small scale was when we were just putting electricity across North America, and it did fry everything in the system
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
1800s, right? I think that is the Fermi paradox problem is there's something we haven't seen yet that it's like a video game. We are on a specific level of the video game, and it is called get the hell off the planet and get as far away from that sun as you can. And I think we're so busy consuming mindless junk so the corporations can continue to get rich that we have really dropped the ball on that one, given the scarcity of fossil fuels. If it's a video game, those fossil fuels were meant to be used as a very specific tool in the game, and probably having a chocolate holiday every month isn't the right use of that energy.
Yeah. I
That's
think
just
I think we already know how to get off the planet, and I also think we know how to access other dimensions. I think the wormhole thing, like we've already know it. I think we have that technology already to do it. So I don't know if that's a real problem.
yeah. I think that right now there's just what I was showing with the cubes. The old model is 100% reliant on those cubes. You need this many workers generating this much activity to keep that wave growing. And you need to add this many workers to continue the wave growing. So, um, what happens when those workers are no longer required? And they're so brain dead from the mindless job they did for 40 years that they are not adaptive in any way to anything even remotely new. And consciousness isn't even a blip on the radar of what consciousness expansion. It's fucking zombie land out there, man. Like there are real life zombies wandering around right now, and it's crazy. And they're not the people in the homeless camps.
Mhm.
They're the people in the malls. It's totally Dawn of the Dead. It's
Yeah,
the
it's like
mind.
it's like that idea of like the if this is a holographic matrix universe being generated, that there are characters that are sort of like non-active players, and then there are people in it that are active players that are operating from a higher state of awareness.
Sure. Did you ever read the book Power versus Force?
No.
Power versus Force, he basically explains that at any moment in time, there are 12 people on the planet that are operating at such a high frequency of consciousness that they're actually holding everything up. And we don't know who they are. And they are not like an Elon Musk, who you would assume is that. It's not a person like that, because they're operating at such a high frequency that they are just influencing their immediate surroundings, but are actually holding massive groups of people up just through their the things they do share. And it's not someone that is has the narcissistic need to be acknowledged. It's an interesting book. It's called Power versus Force, and it's all energy law too, where it's talking about force by nature creates resistance, whereas power draws, because the government can only implement through force. Taxes are a type of force,
Yeah.
right? Whereas what you're talking about is, if you can reach a level of consciousness, there is a potential that gets established that is true power. And it's not the kind of power that you would wield like a billionaire. It's the kind of power that is so undeniable that people are drawn to it.
Yeah, I'm talking about being able to physically, this sounds crazy, but be able to physically manifest your desires with simply the power of your own thoughts, creating everything from the place of your mind, becoming so lucid in 3D reality, just like you do in a dream. Like when you come lucid in a dream, all of a sudden you can fly, you can do this, you can do that. What I'm saying is you can do that here too. That this is also some type of dream, and you can become lucid and be able to create and walk around in it in a really interesting way. I can't quite describe it.
Well, no, and that's what lucid dreaming is. And that's part of transcendental meditation. It's how I write and create what I'm creating. Is you can get to this state where the real world, just like the Matrix, the real world will fall away, and it will be you in this other plane of reality. That is real. What you do in that, you can bring back to you, but the limitation of this physical 3D reality is the resistance you must overcome. In that state, you're in a total flow state. So if potential is constant and resistance drops to nothing or drops to very low, you have lots of current. Potential, resistance drops, current increases if potential is constant. That's the flow state that people are accessing. And it's not that your potential grows in that moment, it's that your potential gets maximized in that moment because resistance is so low and energy burst is so high. And that's where all of the meditation people, that's the point people are trying to get to, that they call the flow state. And in that flow state, miraculous things do happen,
Right.
which is fascinating. It's
Right. And I think
fascinating.
that's where we overcome that huge amount of resistance. That's how we get over that big block sitting on top of us.
Yeah, I think it's something that has to be done individually. I don't see how it can be done massively.
Yeah, there is no individual, I think.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that
Because
every
even a tabloid hints to that, right? That there really is no individual, it's this the main source expressing itself.
yeah, it's showing that everything is law. What the tablet is showing is that everything is law.
Yeah, yeah, it's like breaking down the energy into what kind of comes into like a sacred geometry.
Yeah. The whole chapter that I've done on this the cube, with the showing that the tablet is absolutely perfectly showing you the mathematics of Fibonacci. Did you see that episode, that
Mm-hmm.
chapter? That's incredible.
Yes, yes.
The fact that I saw that in the tablet and that it's actually there, whether it's just my interpretation or not, it's there.
It is
Like,
there, yes.
like you can see that the Fibonacci sequence is mathematically represented in the tablet, and then you lay the golden ratio over the tablet, and there is no tweaking or manipulation to
Right.
that at all. It
Yeah.
is literally just I literally just took the golden ratio, made it transparent, put it over top of it, and it is perfect.
Yeah.
That is not a coincidence.
No, no. I do believe that sacred geometry is a huge key to this reality.
I think so too. I think that there's truths in it that we have to come to terms with. If we're going to get to the next level that you're describing, we first have to get through the basic realities of this three-dimensional world. If you want to get to another dimension, it's a video game. We still have to overcome and come to terms with the rules of this dimension because it's the world that our bodies, which is allowing for our minds to exist, to even explore these things. I've said it many times before. If God exists and God is on the planet, God is not trying to change the world. God is sitting on a dock somewhere, feeding the loons, exploring the infiniteness of inner space. Why would God care about the trivial problems of this world when, if God was to manifest in physical form again, this is the only thing that it has infinite access to? Why would it feel the need to change everything? Everything's following the rules as this layer of dimension demands, and it's energy law.
Yeah, my perspective on God is um, the idea of like all that exists in the universe is a single particle or a single piece of dust, a single something. And because that single something exists in and of itself, then every other possibility also has to exist. Every combination, every breakdown, every rearrangement, which creates our reality. And I think that's where it comes into like sacred geometry, like that particle just starts creating these geometric designs. And then within these geometric designs, somehow polarity exists, like light and darkness and different polarities of sound. And then it all starts reflecting off of each other. And then somehow from that, this illusion comes
Yeah.
about of physical existence and self-awareness. But in reality, all that exists is a single particle. And that single particle, what it's really, really doing is not just creating sacred geometries, but it's creating information. And that's really truly that all exists is information. The particle and the infinite possibilities. And we live within the realm of the infinite possibilities. And what we focus our attention on becomes real. And the things that we don't focus our attention on collapses.
100%. When you get further into the second part of the Shamash videos, the tablet of Shamash says astrophysics, and it shows you that particle, the particle that you are describing. We'll
Yeah.
call it the God particle. It's in that tablet, and I've got a whole chapter on it. It's actually one of the craziest. I look at these things when they're done, and I go, where the hell did this come from? Because like when you see that chapter and how it all lays out, because I just go into this flow state transcendental meditation and I spend like an entire like 8 hour day just on my computer, just like with my eyes glazed over, just doing all this stuff. And then I actually look at what I've done in that state. And the astrophysics chapter is freaking mind blowing. And it's all sacred geometry. It's the God particle. It's got all of that stuff in it, and it shows you exactly where that is hidden within the image of the tablet, which is it's fascinating that all of that is there, but I'm accessing it by reaching this frequency and just reflecting. Like you're saying, it's the reflection. There's a feedback that's happening through reflection. It's like the hall of mirrors, I guess, where if you don't get so lost in trying to count all the mirrors, you can get beyond, you can be lost in the mirrors,
Hmm.
right? You see a hall of mirrors, and the first thing your brain tries to do is count them. But the second you stop counting them, you can actually walk into it because you're so close to it that you couldn't even see it because you were trying to count them all. But your brain will eventually kind of blur it all into something else. It's very hard to describe. And that's the problem with all of this consciousness stuff is that it's all immediately seems frou-frou to people, pseudoscience, whatever you want to call it. But these states exist. It's why people meditate. They're trying
Right.
to reach them.
I was just listening to what just made me think of, and it's probably that just to listen to it, but was Huxley's Doors to Perception.
Yep.
And he sort of talks a little bit about what made me think is like you say, all this exists in the tablet. And in Doors of Perception, like while he's on a mescaline trip, he's looking at the four legs of a chair.
Yeah.
And in that four legs of this chair, he finds all this spiritual meaning. Just looking at these four bamboo legs of a chair. So, is the meaning in the tablet, or is the meaning in the chair, or is the meaning just in absolutely everything we see, but we're just not seeing it
Well,
because
and
we're
that's
not because our awareness isn't clear enough yet.
and that's what I didn't realize I was doing by because this is the actual picture that I studied that I used for studying. And what I realized is exactly what you're describing. It's all my interpretation. But who sits and just looks at this one picture for months, like several hours a day for months? And is it in the picture or is it in something that I accessed by getting beyond the picture? You go use the picture as a focal point. It's like staring at a candle while meditating. It's just a focal point so that I can reduce all of the other resistances that are eating away at my mind so that my absolute potential can be maximized. So that's what I learned from doing this exercise. It's not just the picture, although everything that I describe as being in the picture is in the picture. That's what the videos are showing. It's all there.
Yeah.
But it took months of me entering this flow state where all of the other resistances in my life were temporarily suspended so that I could have maximum focus because current is also intensity of focused energy. So if potential is constant, for intensity of focused energy to increase, resistance must decrease. And then you enter this zone of focus where all of this information starts flowing just by virtue of attaining this low resistance state.
Is it like becoming one with the tablet and then perceiving through the meaning of
Yeah,
the actual tablet itself?
I would say that it's just becoming at one with the present moment. The tablet is just the thing I chose to be focusing on, just like Huxley chose to focus on the four legs of the chair.
So all the information actually exists in the moment, maybe not in the
Exactly. This
thing
just
that.
happens to be the thing that I did it with. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I think you could do the exact same thing with your microphone.
Exactly.
If you can enter that flow state where all of the other things that are holding your mind down can temporarily be suspended, you will see things around you that you can't even believe you've never noticed before because you're walking down the road and all you're seeing is the dog crap that someone didn't pick up. You're not seeing the little flower that's growing up in the concrete right beside it because you almost stepped in it. But if you can stop focusing on all of the obstacles, there is this place that you can reach where you have maximum current and your potential, which is locked, gets maximized. That's what my interpretation of it as someone who's done it. I just happened to do it through the tablet of Shamash. And you think about it, that's a single image that I have written a 550-page book about one picture.
Well, you probably just described the image right there that somebody could write a 500-page book about, which is a flower growing in shit.
Absolutely.
I mean, I mean, it's being fed by the sun and the whole cycle, and you know,
What's ironic is
I mean,
I have a few books on the shelf behind me, and one of them is The Perennial Philosophy,
yep,
Aldous Huxley, The Perennial Philosophy. And basically, what he's talking about is the first principle again. There has to be a philosophical thing that is binding all things through all of time and all of the past and all of the future. That perennial philosophy is the thing, it's the absolute. In some mystic traditions, they call it the absolute. It's the symbol of a circle with a dot in the middle of it. And they call that symbol monad. Monad is the absolute. It's a circle with a dot in the middle. And it means there is something that exists that is at the core of everything that is simultaneously creating a limit to everything. It is both the, the, the center and the limit of all things. And they call it monad or the absolute, which is also the perennial philosophy. There's a pattern, and that's
definite.
what's
And there's definite pattern. Like obviously, like I think we just demonstrated a pattern. Is it coincidence or whatever that I was listening to Huxley in my car yesterday, and here you are with the book, and we're talking about it now.
well, and I have thousands of books in my other room. The fact that it is within reaching distance
Yes.
tells me I need to read it now again.
Yeah. It's been great talking to you again, man.
Yeah, you know what? We got to do it more often. I know that we kind of got off track here. I do want to show you real quick something. This
The
is
giant cube.
this is the cube before,
Yeah.
and this is the last cube. So just remember, when they say the economy needs to grow forever, there's a lot of people down here that are going to make that wave happen. Because the people on the top here, they seem to always be okay.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of that is what is required for this to grow forever. This is the next this is the next leap.
I have to say, though, the one thing that has really changed for me, though, is I do believe 100% humans will survive.
Absolutely. We 100%. I think we are a very adaptable something.
Yeah.
And I think that with all of the polarization right now, we have to just get to the point where the polarization is so extreme. And I think we're pretty much there that it has no choice but to find a middle again.
It might already, I think, be snapping back
I
into
think so.
place. I think it reached its point, and now it's gonna go back.
Well, and you're seeing it in things like all of some of the crazy woke initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for. I in the Joe Rogan actually in his comedy special, he goes, every potential will manifest eventually. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. Every potential will manifest eventually because that's what biodiversity is. But that doesn't mean that we can't leave out crazy. Some people are just crazy. Some people are just trolls. Some people just cause shit. So you can't give everyone everything all of the time and not understand that some people are just screwing around.
We need those people too. I believe they're serving their purpose.
Well, there most of them, I would agree that there's a healthy amount of that that keeps it spinning in an interesting direction. And then there's the toxic people that are not actually adding any value at all because they are just so wounded. And that's what the next tablet of Shamash chapter is going to show, is that it's the development of identity. And the tablet's showing you that there's two little people. The tablet, the Shamash is sitting on
Mm-hmm.
this throne with two little people. Well, and those two little people are the suppressed you and the repressed you. And that suppressed and repressed person is basically an underdeveloped, wounded child that we all have within us, because every culture suppresses every person in it. And
Yeah.
we've reached a level of suppression and repression of the individual that we have so many profoundly mentally ill people now, because they haven't acknowledged that the system itself is what's causing the mental illness.
It's because we're programmed with, using the analogy, the wrong sacred geometry,
Absolutely.
or a reversed image of sacred geometry from the truth, which creates some kind of polarity within us, I think.
And it's the lie that things can grow forever without ever it receding. The
Yeah.
receding is the fallow period. There's no field that generates crops indefinitely. You need a fallow period, and that's the recession. It's an important integral part of the rejuvenation.
But we can look at it like the way nature looks at it. It's a resting period,
Exactly.
a time to, like you said, regenerate, rest, build
Reflect.
up, reflect, build up a new plan. That's where the
Yeah.
like for even for me, like when I'm relaxing or walking or whatever, that's when my ideas sort of ferment and grow.
I I walk 5 hours every day. I listen to my transcendental meditation music. I walk 5 hours every day, and I am in awe. I don't know how anyone meditates sitting still. I don't
Walking was good for me too, especially in beautiful nature. Yeah.
just flow state. And I hope that anyone who's listening, um, my YouTube channel is, if you go under Media Vision 100, Media Vision, and then 100 in numbers, all one word, YouTube Media Vision 100. Look up the Tablet of Shamash playlist. Everything on there is, the channel's actually called Ohm's Law of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that anyone who's even remotely interested will come in and look at some of the content there. I've actually made a lot since we've talked last. I've
Yeah.
done like two and a half, 3 hour lecture series on Ohm's Law, which I've taken all the different clips that I've found where it's like Sylvester Stallone, and
Yeah, I saw some of that one. Yeah.
it's neat that they're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all talking about overcoming resistance. They
Mm-hmm.
just don't understand that it's a formula. It's
Yeah.
neat
Yeah.
stuff.
It is pretty cool. So I'll be putting a link to your YouTube channel in the notes of this episode. And if you want me to put a link to your Facebook stuff too, I will
Sure,
put
the
that in
Facebook group.
there. Um, yeah, let me know when your books are out. We'll promote those.
Yeah, and keep in touch. I'm glad that you're working on some interesting things, because there's not many of us out there. We have to support each other. It's very important, especially with the tsunami of AI generated content that's coming. It's very important that we find the people that resonates with what we're doing, because like yourself, I want I want to meet real people. I don't want a million YouTube views. I want an appropriate amount of views based on real people interacting with the content, because this is not about money. It never has been. It's about understanding and sharing the understanding. This is my entire life goal, is to just share this energy law message with as many people as will hear it. But they must be real people.
They're out there. All right, man. Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
And hang on for a moment. And I'm going to play the outro and we'll wrap it up.